Welcome to Season 2 of Pod Practice, where Mama Bird alumni Quinn Finer, Mikey Lund, and myself, Alex Atkins, talk about Ultimate from the perspective of players and coaches. We want to engage with you, so please reach out, say hi, ask a question, give some feedback. We look forward to talking with you. To reach out, follow us on Instagram or YouTube at podpractice_pod. Listen on Spotify at Pod Practice, or email us at show@podpracticepod.com. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Quinn and Thomas, can you guys give us a little insight on your into your bromance?
I think I kind of initiated, and yeah, just the kind of guy that has that gravitational pull. You want to be friends with him and say hi. So I think we dapped up a couple times, and then we just got to talking a little bit. Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of Pod Practice. We have just returned from our, don't really know how to sum up that road trip well, Utah, California road trip.
The West Coast? No, I guess they're all.
There's
in the West
we're in the West Division. Yeah, so the Oakland Salt Lake road trip. It was a wild weekend with highs and lows to both extremes.
We should call it like the bruiser trip because
It's
every year it's just they're like the two most physical teams.
Physical, probably like the two other best teams besides, Seattle is looking good this year. And
the travel is just so hard too.
Yeah.
Like it's harder than any other road trip we do. We took, how many flights did we take? 1, 2, 3, 4. Four flights at least.
Four, because we had a layover from Oakland to Salt Lake. We went to Burbank.
So we to start things off, I guess Friday morning we catch a 7 a.m. flight. So we always are sure
wake up at
4 hours before the flight with
get there at 5. Sleep on the plane. Get to Oakland at like early. Like
weather
10.
was good this year in Oakland.
Yeah, weather was good. Not super windy. Kind of windy, but not crazy.
It was windy.
Play that game, sleep, wake up at 5, fly to Burbank because it was cheaper, I guess. Hour layover, fly to Salt Lake, get there at 2. So there was really no downtime for Salt Lake. Got food, went to the hotel, went to the stadium.
Went to the wrong hotel.
Went to the wrong hotel, which was fortunately very, very close to the correct hotel.
Yeah.
And then, played Salt Lake and then leave the next morning.
It's pretty interesting, or maybe it's interesting to get a little insight on what road trips are like, because when you have back-to-backs, and ours are always back-to-backs because it condenses overall travel into 3 weekends, and it's like nonstop chaos. Like there's really no downtime.
Only downtime was when we were in Oakland, before the game. You get to Oakland, we had, a good handful. We had a good few hours of downtime on the beds in Oakland. And then we just played 2 of the craziest games ever. We had a lot of crazy games last year, but 2 very crazy games. 1 point each, both very much on the line until the very last play, until the clock. I was both fortunate and unfortunately involved right smack in the middle of both of those 2 pretty exciting last plays.
Shall we start with the Oakland one?
I think for sure, yeah.
So the theme of this season has been slow starts for us.
Besides the first game. Besides
the first game.
They started great. Just funny.
And immediate centering pass, and then one throw later. Kins, what happened?
Dropped her.
Get broken. Did we go down 2-0 in that game?
At least.
Our
because they scored. Continued. They held the first point. We started that on D. So we were 2-0 after the first break, but then we did score.
Okay. But there were a lot of bright spots in that Oakland game, even though the first quarter was rough. Mm-hmm. We went down, I don't know,
6-3,
big time
at the end of the quarter.
But honestly, it was our most experienced players making the mistakes. Usually.
And just a lot of drops, definitely. But, lots of drops.
We debuted back in Arnstein, Zeke Thornton, and Nanda Minfink, who are fresh off of their college semifinal run. And they were a huge spark for us overall. Mm-hmm. And that was clear even in the Oakland game when we were struggling in the first quarter to score. They were like, a lot of our possessions were super solid. Basically in large part because of those threes, their ability to move the ball, go through reads quickly, churn with their legs, and just not do too much.
Yeah. I mean, largely the offense felt better than it has all year. Most of our mistakes are just, most everything I just feel like is execution. Like, it's tough because that's not better. It's probably better than like making a bunch of bad decisions, but it's still unfortunate because even in the Oakland game, like, I would say we had a slow start, we dropped it, and the defense couldn't really capitalize.
I think we were down 10-7 at half or something like that.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And I think we immediately tied it at a half, and the O continued to click. Like, the O was super solid the rest of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
We tied it. We took the lead in the fourth. I can't remember exactly what the score was. Maybe 17-16 at that point. And then were we receiving to go up 2?
No, but we had a break opportunity to go up 2 upwind. Their O-line was gassed, applying zero resistance. Colson dropped it.
Colson dropped that one.
Yeah, well, we had 2. We had 2 upwind. What would have been goals? Noah dropped one in the end zone earlier, a couple points earlier. Colson dropped that one.
It was in the red zone as well. Like,
yes. And it was like, I was so confident we were going to score because their O-line was like so tired. If you watch the point, they just weren't running, you know.
And we're screaming on the sideline. Yeah, they're tired, which always sucks to hear because you're like, damn, I am tired.
No, I love it. It actually motivates me so much when people yell that. I'm like, okay, well, if I was tired, I'm not anymore because I'm going to work harder. But yeah, so that was unfortunate. Didn't get that break. They tie it up at 17. I slightly overthrow Denny on an inside. Gets a good couple hands on it. Classic.
He integrity called himself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I kind of
want to. That's an interesting
topic. Take a second to shout out Denny because I think he felt pressure to because there was some ambiguity about it being up down, but like he knew it was down, and he, he didn't hesitate to be like, no, it was down. He looked confused,
he wasn't sure what to do.
Yeah, like
when they were because they weren't calling it at first,
right?
And I think a drop is different than like a foul or something because maybe on a drop where like you don't know if the disc hit the ground slightly first or not, but on a drop like that one, like he knew he let go on the ground while it was sliding, so you know it's a drop. And so
so shout out Denny, like that makes me proud of him and us because like I don't know that I would expect it. To go if the roles were reversed. Totally.
No, they're not fucking. There's no one on that fucking team that's making that call. I don't give a fuck.
I don't know if there's anyone else on our team who's making that call.
Thanks, Denny.
I'd like to think I have the moral strength.
I'd like to think too, but
if I dropped it like how he dropped it, I think I would. Like there was that one, like the foul call that in Seattle that I didn't. But I think those are a lot hairier. Like, with rules and receiving rules, like to be honest, I don't like. I have a good idea, but I don't. If the ref makes the call, I'm not gonna. But like a drop, you know what I mean. Like in that situation, it's just a lot easier. Like a foul, something like that, I think is a lot it's not as black and white, but like whether or not you're holding the disc while it's on the ground is very black and white. And so respect to Denny.
Yeah. Outstanding moral fiber.
Yeah. So it's a win. It's a small win and a loss for sure. We actually got the disc back that point as well. So
yeah, we did.
Discs don't
we got
lie.
The disc back.
We gave it right back to him.
We gave it right back. 2 throws later.
Yeah.
So we have a chance to tie last second buzzer beater. Kins had one shot at the end zone. Defender makes a nice play.
Great play.
To basically point block it like 10 feet away from you, I guess.
Not
so
even.
We didn't have a chance to tie.
Like super close.
I really felt like if we went to overtime, we would have won. I just felt like our energy was better and we were playing more consistently by that point of the game. But
but we had so many chances.
We had so many chances, and they won that game. They made some really good plays that game.
Yeah, some great catches, and I mean it was
kind of
insane how we lost that.
They do that always against us. Like I think about last year.
Teams want up. Like we talk about this. Teams are hype against us. Partly me. It's partly our reputation. But like,
the last year they boomed on us. This year,
and we're good. Like I think Bryce talked about. Even though it's not the same like club success, they're ultimate players, so they still know.
Totally.
Like it's a good team to beat. Teams want to beat us. It's just like a little bit different when you're playing us versus whatever.
The Nitro.
Even if our record, yeah, totally. Even if our record isn't showing that, so no, that was
So that was the almost comeback win that fell short, and that put us at 1-3.
1-3 on the brink, man.
Going into the Salt Lake game, and Salt Lake's been the best team in the league all year.
Yeah, them in Carolina. But yeah,
what were you guys feeling heading into that game?
Excited, man. I don't know why, but I think right after a loss, I was very grateful to have another opportunity to get to play again. Like if it was like a home game and we had lost that to Oakland, I have to wait another week and let it eat away at me. Like holy shit! But I was really excited to go get another game, and even still, like maybe it was dumb, but I was optimistic. Like I knew that I wasn't like lacking confidence in our team's ability to win that game. So
I wish.
How about you, Matty?
Yeah, I wish Quinn was on because he could substantiate this. But I was texting with Quinn like before the season even started and looking at our like really daunting early schedule. Gauntlet. And like the game at Salt Lake was basically like a scheduled loss in my opinion. So like I even told Quinn like maybe at our first mini camp when I was feeling really underprepared, I was like, we could start this season 1-5 and it wouldn't surprise me. And he didn't agree with me, which obviously he's right.
Wait, 1-5.
So I mean, like, because I was looking at this next road trip was being pretty tough too. 1-6.
Okay.
So which we haven't gotten there yet. Anyway, all that to say is like we're going to Salt Lake, and I know this sounds terrible, but like I was just expecting to lose.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
to me that's crazy.
Totally. But like after the second we get on the field and we're applying better defensive pressure than we probably ever have all season, that sort of like anxiousness turned to excitement. And I was like, okay, we can work through this. So,
and then I turned over 2 flicks and I was like, here we go again.
We're going to start 1-6.
All over from
here. We'll get to that in a second. I was feeling good about some things, definitely worried about results, but I feel like I've talked about this a decent amount, how I might not be that competitive of a person anymore, and I don't know if that's good or bad, especially since I'm like one of the leaders of this group, and outcome matters for sure, but I don't know that it matters to me personally very much. Like wins and losses versus playing well. And when I could really tell that we were we found ourselves in the Oakland game, especially the O-line, because I work mostly with offense, and that personnel grouping was having a lot of success. It was really, I said it after the Oakland game, how much fun I had just watching that group go to work and just play the style of ultimate that we talk about a lot and we preach as our identity. Again, like, going through your reads, using your legs, not trying to be hero throwers. And I really thought that we were doing that. So I was excited to see how we would play against Salt Lake for sure. There for me, there's always I don't know about you guys, in the back of my mind, sometimes I think about, outside voices, and how it impacts like the meaning, I guess, that I have out of doing this. But I thought that Jarvis and Plow, and so actually after the Oakland loss, Jarvis, Plow, TK, and I, we sat for a while just to talk about what was working and what was not, and what would make the next day fulfilling regardless of result. And, one of the strengths that Jarvis and Plow have is their ability to really center things around the joy of playing and competing. Kins, I think that you may have some different perspectives on that a little bit, but it helps me at least remember, I guess, be excited about that Salt Lake game regardless of result.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, I was excited too. Like I was very excited for the game, but I do think I'm a little slightly different. Like one thing I think that sometimes gets to me is I think, in the club format, especially the like, all right, let's just get better at this tournament, at whatever, like that's what's most important, makes a lot of sense because like nothing matters until nationals.
Right.
Like winning a tournament is great, but everyone wants to win nationals. So being your best, building as a team, everything is great till you get to nationals. But in the UFA, like
every game matters.
They matter because we need to make the playoffs. So I think there's a little bit of like meaning, like you have like from a competitive, like wanting to win, like, and I know there's like a lot of joy in playing, and I also find a lot of joy in playing, but like, I don't think, anyone would be here if we were like 0-12, super, just like joyful, to be honest with you.
Well, maybe it's more of a framing for me, because if we were 0-12, I would not be having fun. There's no way. But if I can't have fun while I'm doing it, then I'm stressed out. I have like a physical headache. I have a ton of anxiety because of what is the point of this?
Yeah.
If doing this thing that I love is so stressful, and if I'm getting put down for just wanting to enjoy the moment, regardless of what the score is, then like for me, like you have that's like a prerequisite to result in winning, the enjoyment part.
Yeah. I just think also like while I'm playing, I don't need to like there's also like a type 2 fun, I guess, in like some things where like you're doing something that's like hard, and I don't need to be like laughing the whole time while I'm like playing a game. Like for me, maybe, and sometimes I will be, like it depends on the situation, but like in a really, like I want to beat Salt Lake really bad, and so I'm trying really hard. And honestly, like when like people keep talking, it like feels like I'm being like forced, and it like kind of like frustrates me more. Like I would rather not talk about it, and like whatever we're feeling, and then like if it's fun or if it's like some frustration or if it's like whatever, or if it's whatever the feeling is, I guess like I don't know. I've always also like kind of been like that. Like if I'm told to do something, like, you know, like I kind of like don't want to do it, but I like feel like I'm being told to have fun a lot, like in the moment. And sometimes it like makes me annoyed, to be honest.
Whenever I'm like doing something, yeah, I can't think about how to experience that. Like I can retrospectively say like I was having fun or I was frustrated, but like yeah, when I'm being told in the moment to like enjoy the process because that's what it's about, like I'm just like, go away. I gotta play defense or something. I don't know. Everybody experiences it differently.
That's the thing. People are different,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But I, like you said, how like, you know, you're in leadership, maybe not as competitive. I think we have the majority of the leadership is more on the like
Growth side.
growth. But
Less results.
I don't
focused.
like the growth thing because I don't think I'm not anti-growth.
So let me jump in here.
Doesn't feel right.
Let me jump in
me.
because it is. I think it's more of a framing. It's like similar. Like I think you'd be surprised how close we are.
I agree.
Because. So I hate being told what to do too. You probably noticed like when I lose my temper, it happens. It's usually centered around like someone telling me what to do or like telling me I'm wrong about something when like clearly I've put a ton of thought into it. I'd rather be met with, I don't really agree with that, but I understand where you're coming from. Like that's like, just because you guys know me, I don't do anything if I don't think about it intensely for a long time. And when I think about the growth stuff, the enjoyment of things and focusing more on that, part of it's like a little bit of self-defense. Like I don't want to be disappointed by losing, and I don't want to be, it's like, it's almost like maybe I am pessimistic. Maybe like I think we are going to lose this game and I don't want it to really bum me out and I want to make an excuse now. But on the flip side of things, I see the positive impact it has on teammates, their mood and their ability to perform by just being nice, by being a good teammate, by smiling, by listening to them, by not demanding things for myself. Like for instance, like at your level, I cannot compete, right? Like at the UFA level, the men's open club level, I'm just not there anymore. But the Grandmasters level, nobody's fucking with me at that level because I've just like maintained what I have basically.
Hell yeah. And
like sometimes I catch myself being a little negative and being a little frumpy and like body language low because sometimes my teammates do really stupid shit. But when I do the exact opposite, even when they are still failing, we tend to win a lot more. And I don't have the data charted, but it is pretty clear to me that it is a better way to go about things in all aspects, including results and outcome. I think everything is better when you can support each other while being truthful and hard on each other, holding each other to a high standard. I think it's okay to tell people when like, hey, we can't do that. Like you can't take that shot because like because we are trying to win as a team. But as soon as you introduce, it can be a slippery slope, right? Like if you start talking about it from a perspective of where it's just like, it's clear that it's anger. It's clear that there's not two-way communication. There's not clear listening. There's lack of buy-in. Like sometimes I also disagree with what we're doing on the field for Grandmasters, but it's less useful for me to fight it and more useful for me to buy in and bring my strengths to that group.
Totally. I think for me, it's just that what really makes me upset is when I'm being told like how to feel. Like I care about playing. Sometimes when I make a mistake, I will get upset. And when people tell me to not be upset, it makes me more upset. When people go, literally, I don't need anyone to do anything to me other than be like, high five. You know what? We're going to like, let's get this. Like, we don't need to, because I agree that it's better to be positive, but that doesn't mean I'm happy every single day, every single second of my life. You know what I mean? Like I am fully in on the positive growth support mindset. There is like no doubt about that. And like what makes me actually really, what I found as a very useful tool to be more happy during this weekend was like to not think about whatever I was frustrated about, which is always a mistake that I made more often than not. It's like what makes me feel really good is to like go give some high fives, to like try to hype some people up, to like be like, yo, that was a nice play. Like that actually makes me feel really good. But like when people are telling me how to feel in a moment where I can think of a specific instance, it makes me very upset.
I think you kind of had an interaction with a player and then one of your teammates told you to like not behave that way or chill out. And I definitely understand why that if I were you in that situation, it would drive me insane.
Well, what happened was we were on the field. Salt Lake turned it over and the refs called a foul and everyone was kind of confused. Like we didn't know what the foul was, whatever. And coming off after they scored, or this is
the Oakland game, right?
No, this is a Salt Lake game. So Kerr had the disc. They blew the whistle. He threw it immediately and into the ground. And we were like excited. We were going to go get a break. I was on the field. It was a defensive point. And then they blew another whistle to signal a foul. And we all kind of looked around because like no one had really moved in the stack. And we were all like, there's a foul? Yeah. Like what's going on? And I was like, oh, it must have been on someone else. Because me and my guy were just standing at the front of the stack, like no grabbing, no nothing. We were literally just standing there like shoulder to shoulder, chest to shoulder, whatever. So then they scored. And I walked off the field and I just asked the ref, I was like, who was the foul on? He was like, oh, we called it on you. And I was like, what? I was flabbergasted. And to be fair, he might have got it wrong. They might have, because there's almost, if they did call it on me, it's crazy. Like it's like if we pull up the clip, it's like total. It makes more sense that they called it on someone else and the refs had like a miscommunication of who it was on, to me at least, because there's literally no way that what I was doing was a foul.
Yeah, that happens.
But so walking off the field, so like this is like 10 seconds after hearing that news, I'm like, what? Like this was a big, we are down a few points. Like we needed a break. And I was just like, what? Like this is kind of crazy. And what I would like in that moment is to like what I'm saying is like, I just need to move on, right? Like that is clearly what needs to happen. But like the like telling me to move on is then just still talking about what just happened. You know what I mean? Like telling me it's the same thing of like, I know I should be not upset in that moment, but then like telling me to not be upset isn't, it's like, I know, but I also am upset at you for telling me that because I'm not. Yeah. Like all I need is like, hey, let's go.
All the time.
Where you're like, oh, fuck it.
Especially in real life. My personal life, I'm like that a lot. Well, let's talk about a solution as I let Quinn in here.
Come on in,
Quinn. Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, Quinn's jumping on, but we're mid Kin's.
Well, we planned on
what are we debrief?
Well, we talked about we were going to start kind of unpacking the Salt Lake game, and then we've gone on a massive tangent about
a great tangent.
It's a great tangent. It's people's mindsets.
Sort of planned just a little bit later.
It's kind of like our team culture.
There's
Quinn, feel free to jump in whenever, but you got like a kind of a fisheye lens, I feel like.
Me?
Yeah, it kind of looks like it. So Kins, help us out, and also maybe I think this is useful for listeners too. We've had a lot of discussions about how to interact as teammates and how to communicate. Like, if we're talking, we can really focus on outcome. Honestly, it's outcome growth, etc., and just efficiency in communication for high stakes games when there's not a lot of time. What is there a mechanism? Do you have any idea what that mechanism might be? Or is it just to like let you go do your thing while the 19 other people and coaches are being, on their own page? Maybe that's probably the way I phrase it is probably a little triggering, but so I apologize.
I'm confused with. I don't even know what that means. What do you mean? Like they're all on their own page?
Like I really felt like the rest of the group was pretty bought into what Jarvis had really, I guess, espoused to before, like in pregame, like let's play with the spile.
See, and
have fun the whole time.
It doesn't bother me the way that, like, if Kins is mad at himself, there's nothing that I can do or say that's going to snap him out of it. That's going to all come from, like, internally from Kins, probably, I think. So, like, I don't think he's on a different page than everyone. He's just, like, he's working through it himself, I don't know. It's a little bit of a tangent, but I want to loop Quinn in here. Before the Salt Lake game, the D-line had decided, like, okay, we are going to approach this game as, like, very process focused. We had, like, 3 bullet points that, like, we wanted to achieve during the game, and it wasn't necessarily, like, win the game. And in addition to that, a change that we wanted to make was, I know this is going to sound trivial, but it's in line with, like, the culture piece that we're talking about right now. The 2 changes that we were going to make on the sideline as D-liners was that whenever you're coming off the field, instead of, like, slapping hands down by your hips, they were going to be above your head. I know this sounds funny. And we were going to focus on eye contact. And so
I like that.
Right. Because what it does is it changes, subconsciously and physically, it changes how you interact with your teammates. A lot of times you're hanging your head and you just kind of like swack your hand of your teammate that's down by his hips. But during this game, we had our hands up and we're like looking in each other's eyes, and it just kind of makes you smile. It's even if you're having a rough go at it, you lock eyes with, somebody and you're like, okay, it's good. And back to what Mikey was saying, like, whenever you're just like, I don't know, you have a good positive energy, and I'm not going to tell Kins to have a good positive energy. I just hope it manifests by doing these things. You usually see better outcomes.
Well, I just noticed a correlation between like how much I'm being told to be happy all the time and how frustrated I get.
I'm never tell you to be happy, ever.
The more we talk about some of that stuff, like the more I feel like I get frustrated.
Is there any way I could crack a joke in the moment, or is that
it's just gonna spiral?
No, because when I'm pissed off, even I just think. And I also think as like the seasons go on, usually as things, I get better at having like less of a physical response to when I'm upset and being more just like of a neutral thing and like working through like the negative emotions quicker. So that's also helpful, and like being less like almost like animated about it. So then there's like, because it's also bad when I'm more animated about it, because then it spirals, because then more people tell me to like whatever, and then it like keeps like spiraling into getting me upset. So that also helps a lot, which is like when I'm not doing anything. But
Maybe try
I
telling
think
a
it's
joke.
really just like I like what Matty said, like the high fives. Like I don't need like it doesn't I don't like need like a therapy session in the moment. I just need to like move forward into doing what I would be doing normally. So just like
Okay.
I don't think like major things need to happen. And I think like for me it's just that like I'm not like
Can I
Plow and like Jarv in how I like handle myself.
Yeah,
And so
actually,
like
so a little
trying to
insight
make
on
me be like them.
the conversation that we had as a leadership group, sans Quinn, because Quinn was not on the road trip with us, unfortunately. We actually did talk about maybe a con of Plow and Jarvis as captains together is that they have the same strengths. They don't fill gaps for each other. They definitely complement each other. Well, maybe that doesn't make sense, what I just said, but I think you understand. And I think a lot of what Jarvis brings to a team culturally sometimes maybe loses its effect when it's not in more of a supportive role and in more of a leadership role. I don't know if that's true, but I just want to mention that because something you said made me think of it. Because you guys are different, and maybe we don't have like the type of leader in our leadership group that I think probably resonates more closely with you. Even though I know you very much care about them and like them.
Well, and I like them because they're different from me, so it like really makes me work on the things that I am not good at, you know.
So
which is why
what
I'm always...
maybe another question for you then is not what us as your teammates and coaches can do for you, but if you think about the impact you have on your teammates when you are in a state and we may be afraid to approach you, which is okay. I think we can not do that. But I will say for sure those three bird guys look up to you a lot. And a lot of people on the team look up to you a lot. Do you have any? I see Matty.
Well, it's just me and Kins actually were getting breakfast Sunday morning, and one of the things that I mentioned to you, and this isn't news to you, but maybe hearing it out loud changed your understanding of it. Like the gravity that you have both on the field and off the field is like immense. Yeah, kind of like what Mikey was saying. Like the bird guys look up to you, but like I look up to you too. And so what you don't realize the impact that you're having on the impact that you're having on the field, good or bad, but maybe you don't understand the impact that you're having like emotionally on others, which can be pretty impactful. And so we've talked about it before, but like, yeah, body language is important. And like, once you understand that your body language is really important, I think that can help you work through things faster.
Yeah. No, and that's why I said that I want, like, I don't. Also, like, I'm not sure, but I think, like, I mean, I don't know how long it'd be, like, interesting to, like, start a timer after the point ended, after, like, I threw a turnover. To me, it's, like, I don't think, like, you know, there's probably, like, a little bit of, like, oh, I'm bummed as I'm walking off the field. And, like, I think I'm just saying gets when it becomes.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's the cycle of like we keep talking about it, like when it's happening, and if like so I can't, because we're like all thinking about it. Like I can't just go and move on and like do the things that I just said like make me happy, or like congratulate someone on a nice play they made, or like high five someone like that. Like.
Yeah, what I'm kind of thinking of more is just when like after a point we bring the O-line in and just are trying to debrief even. And I don't think your head's as clear as it is when your heart rate's a little bit lower. And
But yeah. just like even when we bring it in, like I don't remember a time where I'm like there was the time that I think you're thinking about when I was sitting down and I got upset because you like said that we should be like having fun, and it was like right after we'd like gotten broken or something, and I'm like, that makes me upset.
It's not that I am thinking of that as well now that you mention it, but no, it's I don't think you realize, I don't think you're as objective. Like I think you aren't as focused on what the root cause of potential issues are.
Totally.
Yeah. So
and I think that's why you have like, that's like why you would have like a coach or something, because like while you're playing, you can't like, if you could just be objective and like, yes, if I could just like go run fast, play hard, and also be like totally objective, like that would be really.
So I guess so. Like everything you're saying is true. What I'm trying to tell you is that it has a bigger impact on the people around you than you realize, and it is something that you may not completely be able to control. And I'm not asking you to. Let me be clear. Like I'm happy with you exactly the way you are. What I'm telling you though is that what I'm saying is that there are ways of being a teammate, that there are other strengths that people have that you can bring to a group that will elevate them in these ways. And that doesn't happen to be one of your strengths right now.
Quinn.
Yeah, I think it's all fair what everybody said, including what Ken said. I'm gonna add something. It doesn't need a response or anything, but when I was watching the Oakland game, I think it was like 4-2, and we turned it again. And even the announcers commented on Ken's body language after the turn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like whether that's good or bad or anything. It's just like a comment about like how it is a noticeable thing to even people outside of the group. And for me, when I see my opponent sad, it makes me want to beat him even more. It makes me want to make him more sad.
Yeah.
It's like you got the rat above the boiling pot of water, and you're just like slowly like lowering it in. That's a Gabe Stumpism. If anybody knows Gabe Stump, he always used to say rats in the pot. But that's just a comment that I had. I have been playing with Kin so long and know Kin so well that it doesn't really affect me anymore.
It doesn't affect me either.
But I can see how it would affect other people.
Yeah.
Negatively and positively to our teammates and to our opponents.
Yes, and I'm going to work on it.
Since we are limited on time here, we gotta wrap up for our upcoming guest here. But maybe we can recap the ending of the Salt Lake game, and also mention a really positive way that you affected the team and the outcome of the game. Honestly, because I know this is a topic that we talk about a lot in general, and the whole teammate dynamic, but like you had some anger to take out, and you got to fucking just unleash on Salt Lake. And I thought you did a great job of that. You filled up the stat sheet from the D line. You threw the go-ahead goal, go-ahead assist, caught the
go-ahead block,
buzzer beater block. So, as I have this debrief with you on a somewhat public forum, I'll say that it's all out of love. We've been through this together now for a long time, and I really just do appreciate you, Ken. So I hope it doesn't come off any differently than that.
No,
Yeah, I got to be like one of the main beneficiaries of. Yeah, you got put on. Were you playing both D lines?
Nope, just liver.
Just liver. So yeah, I was the main beneficiary of you getting put on D line because you got put on my D line, and I was like, "This is great, especially for a D line that's been struggling to score all season." Quinn, did you watch the Salt Lake game? I assume you did.
Yeah, this is a funny anecdote. I was watching until I actually I was just so distraught when we went down that I did turn it off for like 4 points. And the 4 points that I turned off happened to be like the 4 breaks that you guys got right in a row because it was like 14-18 or whatever. And I was like, oh my, I was just getting, it was not good for my mental state.
Totally.
So I turned it off. And then I saw it was 18-18 and I turned it back on.
Did you see the moon ball I threw to Kins?
Yeah, I didn't see it live, but I saw it afterwards. Yeah.
I was like,
Throwing it to the big guy.
oh, exactly. So I feel like I've missed long a handful of times, and then I basically just had a upline power position, backhand huck.
Just air bounce that thing.
Just to the moon. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Kins just went up and 2-hand jammed. So
Was sick. And then he kind of gumbied afterwards on the ground. Went,
that's his signature
Yeah,
move.
yeah.
Yeah.
the sig. Yeah. Who was it over? I want to say it was Russ Nuggle. Yeah, I know it wasn't Russ Nuggle. I just want to say it was because that fucking guy.
The Russ Nugget.
The Nug, dude.
Grant Light. And we should.
Somebody tweeted on the sky of like the ending buzzer beater that Kins had, and it was like, look at Grant just stuck in the mud, just can't even get off the ground. And then somebody tweeted back and said, not Grant, by the way.
That's the nugget.
The comments were good. It's funny how in the moment the league probably doesn't really want those things to happen, but they definitely love to publicize it.
Oh, definitely.
I do feel like we also have to shout out Chuck Cannon just really quick because we did insert him into a spot he was not prepared to play on offense, and he crushed it. I like that he calls himself a disciple of Denny because they play similarly, like just churners, move the ball, the inside pivot, the inward pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to you, Chuck, and also for all the off the field bonding moments. And then Chuck got on an early morning flight Sunday morning and went to trash practice the day after.
Legend. Would you do me a favor, Mikey? Is Smith at home?
He is, yeah.
Ask if he has any. Will you grab a pair of large friction gloves before practice tonight? After the game, after the Salt Lake game, some little probably like 6-year-old shredhead came up to me and was like, "Can I have your gloves?" And I gave it to him. I was like, I can't.
Pink ones, right?
The pink ones, yeah. Because what are you supposed to?
I have a pair. in the bag.
Okay. What are you supposed to do? Say no?
Yeah.
How would you guys have said no to that little kid? Hopefully a Summit fan now, but probably still a.
No, I just thought you were a Salt Lake player.
Stupid kid.
Today we have Thomas Edmonds, two-time club national champion.
Unbeknownst
to us, because nobody knew about him in 2016 on Boston Ironside, I suppose. Now my teammate on the U.S. Open team. Thomas, what's up, man? How's it going?
Great Quintro. How's it going, guys?
It's good.
Good.
Good. Thanks for coming.
I'm
on.
excited.
Since apparently none of us knew the resume, can we get a rundown of here?
Canadian Player of the Year as well, when he didn't even play in Canada. That's got to say a lot, right?
Questionably Canadian for
Questionably.
sure.
Sure.
Yeah, give us the rundown on that.
Of Canadian Player of the Year? Well,
like everything.
Just start from the top. Falmouth Boys High School.
All right. 10th grade, sophomore year, one of my friends on the cross country team said, "You'd be great at ultimate frisbee. You should come out to a practice." I said, "Okay, sounds good." Went to a practice, got hooked. I was pretty good at catching it, couldn't throw it. I threw the flick with just the thumb under the rim. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the thumb. Yeah.
Thumb flick. And then I think kind of the moment that sold ultimate on me was we went to our first tournament and we had 6 seniors and they went out on the line for our first point. And then they were kind of like looking at the team and they were like, "And Thomas will come out with us." And I was like, "Oh, like it must have been a random pick," but I got to play like the first point of our first tournament and it was all, yeah. So from there, it's just like, I loved it.
Where is Falmouth?
Doesn't sound real, in my opinion. Sounds fake.
Foulmouth.
Yeah, it is 5 to 10 minutes north of Portland, Maine.
Gotcha.
So were you born and raised in Portland?
No, born and raised in Toronto. I am certified Canadian.
I was about to say, you have to, you're Canadian.
Yeah. So the more backstory is that when I was 11, almost 12, my mom's job was transferred to the United States. So as a family, we moved, and that's what brought us to Maine.
Oh.
Wow.
Yep.
And then you progressively moved down the coast.
Yep. So next year's Atlanta. No, just kidding. Paddles would love that.
What in North Carolina?
I got to skip ring. I mean, it's just
skip ring.
They won't take me. I'm not a system guy.
Fair.
Won states twice with the Falmouth Boys High School team, and then went to UNH for 4 years, New Hampshire. I chose it because it was a little bit further away from home, but looking back, I wish I had picked a school with maybe more ultimate clout to it, but I don't regret my choice at all because I made a lot of fantastic friends there. I just wish it was maybe a school with some more ultimate. But that's what drove me to go to Pitt for my master's degree and get a 5th year of experience with Pitt and a school that goes to college nationals. So what I did was I looked at all the schools that would be good for the program I was looking to pursue. And then I crossed off the ones that weren't national contending ultimate schools. And I applied to those and I ended up working out a deal with Pitt. So then I was there. And then 2018 was my first year with Temper. 2022 was my last year with Temper. And then the beginning of the 2023 year, I decided I wanted to try out for the DC Breeze, and I made it, and I was having so much fun, and decided I also wanted to play for Truckstop, and that is what brought me to DC full-time because the drive from Pittsburgh to DC is 4.5 hours, and I was doing it 2 or 3 times a week there and back, and it was just like, this is too much. So, yeah.
So you didn't have, that was a Frisbee choice to go play with Breeze. Like it wasn't a...
Yeah, my job was fully remote. So it was also, it just afforded me the ability to try that as a Frisbee choice. And purely Frisbee.
Respect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mikey, if you remember your grad year, 5th year was my freshman year in college. We played them at Stanford Invite in the finals, Muddy.
Yeah, I do.
Thomas threw the game-winning huck on Universe to, was it to San Van or was it to
Kyle Hartley, who is
Kyle Hartley, who is now living in
Kyle's also here.
Colorado, which is kind of crazy.
He's a good guy.
He's a good dude.
I ran into him at, is it the
Milk Bar?
Milk Bar.
That's what you were saying, yeah.
Yeah. And
it's
I didn't know he was
crazy
here.
5-level bar in Colorado.
Yeah. And I that was funny. And Kyle used to be
Quinn,
my counselor for summer camps.
You know him from Philly.
Yeah, he was like, I remember, I think I was playing in a high school tournament. Like, I think I was like an 8th grader and we played, so it was Haverton and Kyle was like their stud guy. And I got to play against him. And it's funny how a lot of those guys have all moved because in that same tournament, I played Addison, who also is a Colorado.
Yeah,
Addison Hansen.
Yeah. So just kind of funny. I guess it's not out of the realm that people who play Frisbee move to Colorado, is what I'm saying.
I mean, y'all put out a good product and people want to go play for a good product. So,
well, recently we have, but in the past it's been, you kind of glazed over it, but I'm curious about that 2016 season with Boston Ironside.
Oh yeah.
Is that your first club season?
Not club. I had been playing for a team called Garuda before that
Okay.
was also out of Boston, and at the time was considered like the B team to Ironside.
Is this your Rowan connection too? Then all of this stuff. Were you close?
Yeah, I guess I missed the whole Boston thing. Rowan and I think met first on the Whitecaps. Shout out the MLU.
Okay,
Dude.
And
I have a great.
were you on the championship Whitecaps?
I have
was
some
on the
great
championship
Whitecaps.
Oh, not on the reference
Dude, I have
page.
Some great
Okay.
Whitecaps gear. I wish
Every
it was
once in a while, when
close.
it's cold, Kins wears this hideous like skull cap that's just got the Whitecaps logo on the front. It's
Do you
the
know
ugliest
what?
thing
Do you
you've
know
ever
what that
seen.
is, Thomas? Did you
I
ever
know
get one of
that.
those?
I like
The
that
really
thing.
small.
It's like for under a helmet, but Kins just wears
sick.
it.
It's sick.
Yeah. So that's where I met Rowan and a lot of the Boston guys, obviously. And I think got kind of my feet wet in the Boston scene because I was coming down from New Hampshire. Like, again, no one knew me. And at my first Whitecaps tryout, someone threw an under behind Tyler Chan and I was guarding him and I got like a big layout D or what looked like a big layout D. And immediately Sam Rosenthal, who coaches the Glory, comes over and is like, "What's your availability on Wednesday nights?" And I was like, I'm in. I mean, whatever. I'll do whatever. Yeah.
Damn, yeah. So talk a little bit about that first season with Ironside, what it was like playing with all those players on
Young
yeah,
Babbitt?
Just
Yep.
like
No, wait. Was Babbitt on that team?
Babbitt was not on that
Or
team.
was
he wasn't.
He was on the 14 team that I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. That Rowan was
Yeah.
on.
So yeah, Rowan wasn't on that team. Babbitt wasn't on that team.
But Kurt, Jack Hatchett,
That's
Cody
one of the
Smith
best
tried out for that
finals.
team.
Inselman, Stubbs, Jordan Taylor, like people that
The younger
people that I
Stubbs.
don't know that are probably really good.
Yeah, that's one of the best finals to watch. My most watched finals is the 2016.
Danny Clark.
Danny Clark. I don't think he ever played a point that season. He was
Really?
like chronically injured, but he was like a great like veteran presence for us. Cricket was on that team.
Cricket.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Greatest catch in that final, I think. That like shoestring like thing he scooped
Yeah.
up.
Uh-huh.
Dude.
You guys beat Bravo and
Jeff
semis.
Yeah. How
Right.
crazy
Oh,
is
Jeff
it
Grant,
that cricket is
legend.
still relevant?
And not
today?
just relevant, like he was cooking us in quarters
Yeah.
last year.
Like he's good.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fucked up. That's what I aspire to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, just talk a little bit about that team and talk a little bit about the semi too. I was in the stands for that semi because I was at nationals with Shame, if you
Mhm.
believe it. But just talk about that team and playing with that team and beating Bravo in semis and all that.
Yeah. So just a little bit of backstory. 2016 was the third time I had tried out for Ironside. The first time I think was like 2013. I might have been in high school and it was just like or 2012, I might have been in high school. Just like I'll go, like, sounds fun. You try out for the top club team. So that one might not have really counted, but I tried out in 2015. I didn't make it. And I tried out in 2016 and really made it through a competitive pool. That was the year they cut a bunch of returners, but obviously still had like a very talented roster put out there. I remember our first practice, like Will Neff pulled us all in and was like, "We're going to win a championship. This is a team that works hard and wins championships." And, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, we're doing it." And it was maybe one of the hardest summers of my life of playing Ultimate. We played I think it was like 9 to 3 Saturdays and Sundays every single weekend. And sometimes we didn't have like the classic, 27 guys. Obviously every team deals with that, but we would just grind. And my most typical matchup was Tyler Chan, which if you've guarded him, he's a runner. And thankfully I'm a runner too, but I was just running behind him the whole time. But yeah, very intense. They obviously really, really wanted to win. And we pulled it out against a lot of really, really good teams. That Nationals specifically, I didn't play in quarters, even though we had beat Sockeye 15-10 in quarters, I believe. And typically the way it worked as a second or third string D-liner at the time, if we broke, I would either go on after we broke for that second D point in a row, or if we broke twice, it was almost a guarantee that I would go in for that third one. And then one time in the Sockeye game, we broke twice in a row and I didn't get called. And at that point, I just said to myself, okay, I'm probably not playing the rest of the tournament, no matter what happens. But I ended up getting 2 points in the Bravo game, which was pretty sweet. I was stoked about that.
Who did you guard?
I guarded Mark Rawls, and they put up a break side. I think it was Jesse Ream put up a break side backhand to him, and I laid out. I didn't touch it, but Mark didn't catch it in the end zone, and then we broke on that point. So I was just super hype about contributing. Yeah, and earlier in that point, Mark and I had Mark called a timeout and we had a discussion. I thought I got to 6. He thought there was no way I got to 6. Classic USA Ultimate. I was probably just counting so fast. I was so happy to be there. And we agreed it was probably 4 or something like that. Yeah, and then I played 1 point in the final against Revolver, guarded Kasednar, I believe, and yeah, it was really fun. It was a fun season. It was a great way to get into Elite Ultimate. Just experiencing the speed of the game at that level after coming from even just one level below of club, but also like only playing at like the regional level of New England College Ultimate was fantastic.
So
And
both
then
the times that you have started on a team, you've won in the first year.
Well, I played Dig for 1 year in 2017.
I forget about that.
Did Ironside, was that the last year of Ironside? 2016?
Ironside existed in 2017, but that was their last year. It was 2017.
17. They couldn't survive without you.
Well, I did play a part in starting Dig, so like maybe.
What was I now need to ask, what prompted that split?
Ironside did not do a fantastic job of developing the youth in the area, and so Dig was kind of formed out of a need, might be too strong of a word, but a place for youth to go to develop. I remember the first year I played on Dig, it was a bunch of people who were just kind of the all-stars from their recent college programs, and like Ben Sadok Lundish from UMass was one of them. Tanner Johnson at one point, Rocco Linehan, who now plays Glory.
Was there a Connor Klein on that team?
Connor Klein might have played Dig at some point. Yeah. You can probably look on his Ultimate reference, but yeah, it was just kind of a place to go for people who maybe just wanted to be a little less serious, but still super competitive and still learn a lot from the people around them. Because Ironside was very, very serious, and that's okay. There has to be a team that does that, and that space exists, but some people wanted a different option and to be able to develop and grow in a different way in a different space.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Babbitt was on that Dig team.
Yep.
Babcock. Noah Backer, who's kind of had a good game, I think, for the Glory. I saw some highlights of him for the Glory.
Yeah, and he's on the mixed world team too. Like
he's a very solid player. You, Rocco, like you're saying, like that's a very solid team. We played in 2018. We played Dig at one of the lower level flight things and got to half, and then it got rained out, and then Jarv had one of the most crazy blocks on guy who played D3 and was like pretty good in club for a couple of years. God,
not Peter Pryle.
Damn it, what's his name? But somebody keep going while I figure this out.
Dan Goldstein was on that team. He's my era.
That might be a different Dan Goldstein.
That is a different Goldstein.
Because I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, should we fast forward a little bit to more relevant stuff than?
Yeah, but I do have one question. As someone who's played in like all these different areas, do you notice like extremely different schemes and systems between the teams that you play on, or are like when you go to a Ironside, to a Dig, or I guess you started Dig, but like to a Temper, and then you go to like a Truckstop, are you like relearning all these new words? Are they largely similar? Are like the cuts that they want you to make largely the same? Like how different does that feel?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think across the board, at least in the cities I've been in, the concepts are the same, the cuts are the same, the pull plays are the same. They're just named different things. So yes, I'm relearning what they call this in this new city, but I don't know, maybe I'm generalizing a lot, but I think a lot of the pull plays and stuff are the same. Everyone runs the one where you're in host stack and the handler goes up line and you throw it to the break side. Like everyone fucking does that. Just depends what they call it.
We talked about that one. We've probably talked about that one the last 5 episodes in a row.
Yeah. So no one, you never go someplace and you're like, holy shit, this is like groundbreakingly different.
Well, so I guess I will. You guys have talked about this on the pod a decent amount, but the tempo that DC plays with is different, but it's not really coached. Like I haven't ever seen a coach in DC be like, this is how we run our tempo and these are the things we want to do. It's impressive to me that they've kind of just ingrained it in their system already and they just run with it quite literally. So that's
And it's across all lines too. It's not just that O line.
Yeah, I would say our D-line strives to have that tempo, but doesn't always execute on it, just maybe because of a personnel thing. But our O-line definitely has it in spades, and we certainly want to have it.
Clip that. Clip Thomas saying the D-line can't play as good as the O-line on offense. No, that's classic.
Well,
didn't say that.
Yeah, that's what you said.
AI can do crazy things these days, Thomas.
We all got the gist of it. No, that's funny. That makes sense, though. That makes sense.
Ryan Dinger.
Dude, I love Dinger.
That's who I was trying to think of, and he was very good for them.
He played at Vermont, didn't he? He wasn't.
Yeah, I thought it was D3, but it was Vermont. Yeah, which
small
was
school.
essentially
at that
D3
time,
at that point.
same thing. Yeah.
I mean, UNH was beating UVM at that point, so that's how you know.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now we don't even make regionals.
The system stuff though, that's an interesting topic, and DC is at the forefront of pace, and you've bounced now a little bit between the D and the O. I think it's pretty clear that you can excel in both areas. I think last year, especially for Truck's D line, you ended up being the quarterback of that unit. Has it been? Have there been any struggles for you to play that style, or is it or what was the reasoning for shifting between lines?
Yeah, I think they wanted to try me out on the offense. I don't think there's necessarily a problem, but they also identified, this is Breeze and Truck, that they didn't have a consistent handler presence or two handlers on a D line that they could go to. If you look at Truck 2022 and maybe before, it's mostly just David Bloodgood throwing to anyone and then trying to get it back. So having another person back there, another dynamic presence like myself on that line to really, keep the ball in our hands and, throw some more dynamic type scores, I think is, really valuable for us. And so we just transitioned me because it was easiest instead of taking someone else off the O-line who's maybe been there longer, has more time with that line. I would say the biggest challenge for me, honestly, was not offensively or tempo related. It was learning how to play defense on a D-line. I've been an offensive player for such a long time that you just don't get as many defensive reps, especially at the level that Truck plays at. Temper was playing at a different level. You don't always go to the same high level tournaments. And I can play defense, I can get blocks, but learning how to be more of a lockdown defender was definitely a challenge. And so I reached out to a lot of guys like Jasper Tom, Alexander Fall. How do you guys play defense? What are some tips you can give me? Just trying to learn from who I think are fantastic defenders.
Did they have any good pointers? I mean, when Jasper is such a terror out there, I feel like.
Yeah. I think Jasper's tip was always try to touch the person you're guarding, even if it's just a little bit, which I think is a classic one. But if you're touching them, there's a chance that you can stall their movement somehow. If they try to go through you, they're obviously going to go a little slower. And if you're touching them, you can just go with them. You don't have to, sacrifice your hip positioning or anything like that. Fall's a little bit of a different one because, well, I consider myself athletic. He is definitely way more athletic than I am. So sometimes he's like, well, I just run.
Just try harder.
Yeah.
That is funny. I do watch some people that are just too athletic, play terrible D, but then just get blocks. And I'm just
yeah,
fuck you. Like Twan does it. I'm like, that guy's not even close to anybody. He's playing the worst D ever. And then he just gets a block. And same thing with Jarv. Jarv will play just the shittiest D. I'm like, Jarv, you got to tighten up. And then he just gets a block. And I'm just like, well, I should shut my fucking mouth, I guess. Cause I'm not getting that block.
It works for them. They almost do it intentionally. Yeah.
I just think of Ty because we have the guy Ty Wynn, and he just he's shorter but incredibly quick, and he just follows people, which to me is the most foreign idea ever. Because if I just tried to follow someone, they would just beat me all over the place wherever they wanted. But I watch him just trail them.
He's the definition of chasing on D.
It is unbelievable. and it's the most effective thing you've ever seen in your life. It's incredible.
Yeah, I could not do that.
No.
It shouldn't be possible, but it's pretty amazing to watch him do it actually to pretty good players, because you get a sense of how quick he is and how quick how much quicker you have to be than the person you're guarding to be able to do that, which is a luxury not many people have.
Yeah, for sure.
Talking about D, I'm curious, like, who's some of your favorite matchups from recently, ever?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Guarding box at practice is a treat.
Yeah.
Guarding Tyler at practice is a treat. I've learned to stop biting on the multiple jab step fakes. Just stand there and wait. Yeah, from other teams, really liked guarding Jimmy Mickle when we played Pony. I mean, there's no way I can like effectively mark him with my frame. So just trying to take away small things. And then he's got such a good jab step, just trying not to bite on those jabs as well. That's been a big theme of my defense this year is like, don't bite on jab steps or fakes, like backfield fakes. Let's see.
The same thing is true for when you're marking him too, because he's got the shimmy and you just don't.
It was the hardest thing in the world.
But then he'll probably
just
throw the
and
around
not move at all. Like the shimmy's coming, don't bite.
I do that with Nut all the time at practice. I'm like, if I'm ever marking him, I'm like, he's gonna shimmy and throw a flick. He's gonna shimmy and throw a flick, and he shimmies, and I like lay out the other direction, and he doesn't throw. I'm just like, oh my fuck, like that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Like I've been, but, yeah.
Guarding Pavel is another fun one from Machine. I like guarding him.
You're guarding all types of players. Like it's like
some
big,
handlers,
small, some handlers, some cutters. These days, are you guarding more
box?
Yeah. Are you guarding more handlers
everywhere.
or more cutters these days for Breeze and Truck?
I would say they default me to handlers, and that's probably where I'm most comfortable. But on Breeze, I was guarding Tanner Johnson a couple of points, Simon Carapello a couple of points. So really a wide variety of people, and I felt effective. Ned Dick was like most of my matchup, but when we needed to, because like Boston like would put out an O-line of like Babbitt, Tanner Johnson, Orion Cable, and sometimes throw like Turner Allen on there. And like Fred is hurt right now. We just don't have anyone over like 6'1".
Oh
like,
my God.
Yeah. So we were like, okay, here's our 5 million.
Yeah, that's so interesting because that's like the total opposite of what you think of like going on in DC.
In Boston.
Oh yeah, we just like there just aren't big dudes here right now. Like Moose is coming back for Truck, like thank goodness. But even him, like I love Moose. He's just not as big as those dudes. Like
no.
Yeah, we kind of have the same thing here. We see a tall person try out, and we're like, "That guy, take him. He's on the like." And it's just like, "Wait, that guy can barely throw a flick." And then, like, but we have the same thing here.
Yeah.
Big guys are a luxury. There's a few of them.
Love to have them. Yeah.
So, thinking about your progression from Temper to DC, and also, I guess. I don't know how Canada fits in it, but finding your way from Temper to DC and now the national team, like, what were your thoughts, I guess, in 2022 before you joined the DC scene? Like, did you expect the next couple of years to be like this at all? Like, when you were originally trying out for the U.S. team, or how do you feel like playing in DC affected that outcome?
Oh, I think playing in DC is the reason that I got a national team spot. There's just so much more visibility on a top team like Truck and on Breeze. I mean, I understand that every UFA game is filmed, but the ability to point to like big games at big tournaments and be like, this is the effect I had, and these are the good things that I did, is invaluable if you are trying to make a national team. Clip that.
Playing good teams.
No, but like seriously, like
I
think it's invaluable. Like you don't see a lot of athletes that play Ultimate making it from small programs. It does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I think it increases your chances greatly if you can go play for a team that is going to play in big games at big tournaments. So you can be like, this is what I did, this is who I guarded, and this is how I did on them. And the film doesn't lie. So I would say I credit DC, like moving to DC, not 100%. I've put a lot of work in myself, but it's a big piece as to why I have a national team spot.
I think it changed my view of your game immensely, because I thought of you when you played it for Temper as like a jack of all trades, but maybe like honestly a step below in a lot of areas. But then when you had like a clear role that you can really excel at and thrive in, it's like, oh yeah, like if we need a defensive quarterback who can get blocks, or someone who can fill in on any O-line. Like your name now comes to the forefront of my mind. Whereas before I did think of your game as a little bit differently, even though it was probably exactly the same, aside from maybe a few things that you had to focus on for Truckstop and Breeze in the last year and a half or so.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, I think you're 100% right. Like when you just don't see the comparisons, it's hard to know the level that this athlete is at. So 100% agree.
Flipping the question on its head a little bit, what do you guys think about that? This is, I guess, for all three of you. Is that potentially like a flaw in the selection process, or is it just the way it has to be?
I don't know if it's a flaw. I almost think that, like, I don't know if this is true or not, but I almost think that there shouldn't be tryouts for the national team and they should just pick it. So that would probably even lean more into people that are well-known getting spots because they're well-known. So I don't think it's really a flaw, but it's really hard to, like, going into a trial process. If you don't really know someone very well, it's really hard to say, like, oh, look at this guy, even over a weekend. Like, it's just not enough time to watch someone and be like, okay, this guy is good enough for this if you don't previously know them pretty well. So I think it's just kind of like maybe the way it is, but
yeah, for me, I'd need to, like, actually have a real conversation with the coaching staff of some national teams. Be like, how much do you look at film? How much do you take film into account? How much does the tryout play into? Because I think with my role on Temper, I would have gotten a national team tryout, but I think I wouldn't have gotten a spot. So that's kind of the disparity that I'd need to know. And what are they actually looking at, and how much are they weighting those things?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a flaw. I think it's just kind of the way it works with sports, and like the teams that are winning, because you can't. We're just maybe like there's not enough people who are that good at like figuring out what really makes a good player good and what they're doing that is good, where it's a lot easier to be like, this team is winning, these are the good players on that team, they must have some things figured out. And like you just see that in all sports, and like even the good players on teams that aren't winning, it's just hard for them to get the accolades and those types of things. If your team isn't winning, they don't get the attention, that kind of stuff. I just think I think, there's probably some really skilled observers of Ultimate who are like, can look at a team that isn't doing well and, point out the people doing the little things well that would make a good player and, on a better team and those kind of things. But that would also take a lot of time, and you'd have to watch a lot of games that you don't care about watching. You also want to watch like the finals of a tournament. You don't want to watch the fucking like
the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds playing
the
against the Mechanics.
Totally.
Yeah, I went plus 15 against the Mechanics one time. I said
Did
that.
you really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
How?
And it's the Mechanics,
15,
right?
though.
Oh, plus 15. Okay, I heard 50.
Oh,
No.
I was really confused.
15 is still crazy, though.
Plus 15, yeah, but super doable. A few blocks. I mean, I'm assuming you got some blocks.
8 goals, 3 blocks.
Yeah. That'll play.
Shout out Eric Hubbard.
Yeah.
I think he played for the Mechanics. What did you recall this, Quinn? He had like 8 blocks.
Yeah, he's got the most blocks in a game in
tied
UFA
for most
history. Tied for most. It's like 8 or 9 or something like that. And you talk to him about it, and he's like the most unassuming dude ever. But he's just the best dude. And I think he had 8 blocks, and he talked about it. He's like, yeah, I basically got 1 block. It was all wind. Like, the game was just insanely windy. And he just like got his hand on the disc a couple of times.
Yeah.
As far as the national team stuff, if you didn't make the U.S. team, you were going to play the Canadian team, right?
I was going to play for Canada. I asked them to give me an alternate spot, and I tried to have a very open and honest conversation with them about it, which is obviously difficult. Canada had their tryouts in September because we don't really have a Florida in Canada that we can go to during the winter months, so we have to do it during the season, essentially. I don't think that was their preference, but they said yes, and I told them what my intentions were, and
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. Do you consider yourself more Canadian or American at this point? Are you true dual citizen?
I am a dual citizen. I am very proud to be Canadian, and so I'd probably consider myself more Canadian at this point. But from an ultimate perspective, it's definitely more American, I'd say.
Clip it. We're getting him cut from the U.S. team. He's done.
What would you? Well, I guess you've already made this choice, but how sweet would it be though to be on the Canadian national team taking down Team USA?
Right,
have you ever thought about
I've
that?
absolutely thought about that. That would be like a very, very meaningful victory, not just for me, but I think, all of the players on that team, whichever team it would be. I weighed that heavily, and as bad as it might sound, I just didn't think Canada was there at this time. So,
suck it, Canada.
And making the U.S. team and winning a world championship for me has been a goal for an incredibly long amount of time,
sure.
Basically my whole career, and hopefully we can achieve that in September.
Do you follow Canadian Frisbee very much, like the history of it and who was good the last time Canada won in 2008?
I mean, it was mostly Furious at that point, I think, with some GOAT sprinkled in, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I am kind of ingrained because I played GOAT for Club Worlds in 2022. I played GOAT for Canadian Nationals in 23 last year. And then I played Canadian Beach. So I'm around a lot of at least the GOAT guys, but some of the Vancouver guys as well. But the history is a little lost on me.
So you played Canadian Nationals last year, you said?
Yep.
Wow.
And we won.
And
you won 2 national championships last year.
It was kind of sweet.
That is pretty
and
cool.
work didn't let me go to PAOK. I was going to go to PAOK with the Blue Devils that won. I was so pissed.
So did you play with Ochterlony at all on GOAT?
Yeah, especially for Club Worlds. Johnny Malk's his hero.
Who?
Is that right? Why is
Johnny
that?
Malks loves Andrew Ochterlony, and I don't think I'll do it justice. I don't really know why, but Andy O is just such like a gentle, kind soul, and just a legend of the game in some regards. So,
but a much different player than Johnny, for sure. Ochterlony's like for you two. If
Never
you don't
heard
know,
of him.
Like he's a big dude, athletic receiver is how I think of him. But he played on some old goat teams, and definitely overlapped with John Hassel, who was on that 08 team. For the history nerds, that 08 team had at least John Hassel. I actually forget if Derek Alexander was he a GOAT guy? Do you happen to know, or was he?
I think he played GOAT. Yeah. And
then the Furious guys that were on that team were like Jeff Cruikshank.
Heard of him?
Al Bob, Kirk Savage.
Similar
Oscar Pottinger.
Similar vein. We have an 18-year-old on the breeze.
Lugsden, Mike Grant.
I was like testing him on like who he knew from Ultimate, and I said Bo. All I said was Bo, and he goes, Bo who? And I was like,
no way.
Right,
really?
That's weird. Who is it? Who's the 18-year-old?
He hasn't. He played against Toronto. Mitchell Blaha. He's going to Texas.
Wow.
I mean, but if you think about it, like, it's
No,
been a couple years, and he was like barely even in high school. Bo wasn't really doing it like at that point.
Yeah,
I don't disagree. It's just sad.
But
it's Bo though. I think certain players kind of transcend that.
You would think Bo.
Bo
you would think Bo and
like
Jimmy.
Like Bo.
Is Jimmy still well known? I would assume so, but I actually don't know the answer.
Does he know Jimmy? Yeah, you should have given him Jimmy.
I didn't ask him Jimmy because I just assumed Jimmy's like still
That's
active,
the next one. Yeah.
You mean the guy that played for the Dallas Roughnecks?
No, but he would have no idea that Jimmy played for the Dallas Roughnecks.
Or he would only know that because that's the only AUDL experience he has, and that's all the kids know these days.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go.
It might have been good because I asked him about Dylan Freechild, and he was like, I think I've seen some of his clips. And I was like, come on.
Dude, that's nuts. That's fucking crazy. But I am looking at this Canadian Open team. This is my first time looking at it. The roster, they got a pretty solid roster.
This is the first time you've looked at it? Aren't you guys scouting?
No, not me. I'm on offense, man. I don't need to scout shit.
Run fast, jump high.
Yeah, exactly. They got some old heads though. Like
We got Hibbs still over there.
Underhill's still playing though, and he's pretty old, I think.
He's probably over the hill at this point.
And Mark Lloyd's still kicking it with him, I guess.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
That
healthy Mark
is
Lloyd
crazy.
could still be good,
Definitely.
right?
Oh, he looked good.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's
Really?
And they have 2 Quinns too, if that's anything to anyone.
Quinn Snyder.
Quinn Snyder, and then Quinn Wilson is an alternate.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think is the best active Canadian player? I think it's you. If we can consider
besides
you Canadian. Besides you. Who do you think it is? Yeah, besides. People ask us this on like a couple of our live streams. They're like, who's the best Canadian player? We're like, I always say it's you, but I'm curious what you think.
I appreciate that. I would say Quinn Snyder. I think he's fantastic. JJ Edwards is up there. He's not on that roster, but he had a kid, so he's not playing that year. But I think he's a great receiver. He was fantastic for us for Beach, but he's a great receiver for us. Luke is really good. I think Luke Kamira is fantastic. Great break thrower.
He is a very good break thrower.
Yeah, I'd probably throw those guys in there. Mike McKenzie's also really solid. So, yeah.
He called some. He's him and Quinn are both my like U24 year. We played them in finals, and
I think I watched this game recently for some
McKenzie
reason.
had like two foul calls that we didn't like, and like watching them back, I'm like, they're probably fouls. Like, but now I just like have this like internal like anytime I hear Mike McKenzie, I'm like, oh, that guy. And it's just like I've never talked to him. I don't actually know him. He's probably a great dude. Like,
yeah, he's a great dude.
Yeah.
Will you send me the roster? I want to look.
Yeah, man. Oh, so you've never looked at it either, Mike? So you're getting on me.
I don't need to know. Why would I need to know?
Why would I need to know?
Can you guys give us a little insight on what training camp was like and how it compares to your individual team practices?
Yeah, Thomas, you go first.
Yeah, definitely a lot of strategy, maybe not a lot of strategy, but a good amount of strategy implementation. Like we'd hear something in like a chalk talk session, and then we'd go try to implement it. And I'm speaking from a defensive perspective. So one session we learned like a junky look, and then our D-lines would alternate trying to, slow down the O-line or stop the O-line with that junky look, kind of in like a 10-pull format where if we got a turn, we'd play it out, but if we turned it, it'd be over. That was kind of Saturday, so mostly like chalk talk block, implement what we learned, try again, maybe just a scrimmage look after that. But then Sunday was mostly scrimmaging, kind of free form, try the looks you want with a little bit of input from the coaching staff.
How long was each day?
6 hours?
2, 6, 7 hours. Well,
yeah.
6 hours of playing. We had an hour lunch.
Yeah.
2 days. Yeah. I think, yeah. It was,
right.
but it was, yeah, it wasn't as, I don't know about for you, Thomas, but the tryouts were absolutely brutal on my body. I don't think the practice weekend was nearly as taxing.
No, not as, at least, not the East Coast tryout. I heard the West Coast tryout was like more physically taxing, but obviously that's just me hearing things. And I heard some individuals gave feedback to all the coaches that it needed to be dialed back. Unfortunately, that was after the tryout, so like, we maybe benefited from that, but I don't know.
The West Coast was, of course, I didn't get hurt at West Coast tryouts, but then I got hurt at World Teams tryouts, but or practice. But the tryouts were the hardest thing I've ever done. Like by the end of both days, people were dropping like flies. It was like nobody was still playing. They're just like, we just go out there and run as hard as you can. We're like, nobody can move, man. I don't know how kids. It was pretty difficult, right?
Yeah, it was very difficult.
It was heinous, man.
Yeah, it was tough.
As far as like the offensive side, it's kind of nice we get defensive and offensive. For practice, it was more about like finding chemistry with each other because it's just like a bunch of people that do a ton for their club teams. So finding chemistry in ways that like you're more actively clearing space than actively trying to get the disc most of the time, because it's like everybody can get the disc whenever. It's just more about like getting it in optimal positions and putting your teammates in optimal positions. So finding the chemistry and adjusting to the style that we want to play through like everybody all the time instead of kind of focusing on a couple people with others filling in. It was like, okay, the ideal cut is the cut that you're making to clear space rather than to get the disc. And it was so fun. I mean, it was insane. Like Thomas's D-line is like one of the most stacked D-lines I've ever seen in my life. And we just shredded him most of the time.
Do you think anybody's having a difficult time adapting to a different role, or is it pretty seamless for everybody?
It felt pretty seamless, but I think it's pretty easy for it to feel that way when you're just out there with that many good people. It's like almost like the mistakes you make don't matter because someone else is out there making up for it in some way. I think probably like the biggest thing is like dialing back hucks and decision making. It's like we could never huck the disc and probably be 100% fine.
Yeah.
So it felt seamless for me, and I think it looks seamless for most people. I don't know what you think, Thomas.
Yeah, I think across the board, like early in the weekend before anything happened, my D-line was dubbed the dumb line, which we kind of lived up to when we couldn't implement junk at all. Like we just kept getting shredded. We don't understand this. So we struggled to maybe play more of that team defense, but I like later in the weekend, we got much better at it. We had a lot of good conversations off the field to get better at it. But I'm excited to play for the dumb line. It's a good time.
You're not on nuts line,
Yeah.
are you? Mm-hmm. You are a nuts. Okay. He sort of told me that as well. I'm seeing that you're still listed on the Canadian roster here too.
You are. Yeah, I didn't even see that.
If you both medal, you should definitely try to claim.
Just take an extra one.
Yeah.
That'd be so good.
How does it compare? Would you say the coaching, like, is it comparable to like what you see at Truckstop? Obviously you've had Lauren before Truckstop as a coach, but was Daryl was coaching last year a little bit still, and Alex has been around since you've been in DC.
Yeah,
right?
Daryl was just for the breeze, so he was pretty hands off from Truck at that point. The national team coaching.
Yeah, I guess how would you compare the coaching and you know, I would love it if you guys talk trash. I know you guys can't talk trash about your teammates and coaches, but I'm just curious to hear what the differences are.
Yeah, I mean,
and what it's like playing for different coaches who are all also knowledgeable.
Yeah, I think it's all pretty stylistic, and I probably won't be able to point to like X's and O's here, but you know, Lauren and crew deliver their X's and O's very different than BVH and Cody Mills. You know, I think Cody is like super analytic, whereas like crew is very, very prepared and will have everything for you ahead of time. And I think crew is also very good at answering questions on the fly, where I felt like sometimes my questions to Cody, like maybe he didn't understand me because I'm on the dumb line, but we needed to like regroup later and get those answers. And that's not a shot on Cody. You know, I want the right answer. So however that's going to come back to me. But yeah, I think they're all just kind of like stylistic things. Yeah. And it's not a great answer, but
no, it's I'm just curious to see how here and see how other teams run practices in general, because it's a puzzle that I'd say we are still solving ourselves, even though, you know, we've been doing it together, the three of us, for 8 years or so. I don't know how long now.
Well, an insight into DC, at least, is that we don't do a lot of drills. We play a lot. And I don't know if that's true for you all. We do one drill probably at most per practice. And it obviously correlates to the thing we are trying to work on or, you know, get out of the scrimmages later in the practice. And we usually do it either early on or in the middle after a playing block. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of how we do it, at least on the men's side in DC.
Are your playing blocks all sevens, or do you play a little bit of mini?
We do mini and warm-ups. So that's kind of where we get our mini fix or small field fix. A lot of our playing reps are sevens.
Dang, that's interesting. I kind of feel like that's how it was at USA. I think we probably do a bit more drilling in Colorado. and everybody is at practice is like, God, can we just play sevens for God's sake? Like, oh my God. And then we lose some buy-in on drills sometimes because everybody's so jazzed up to play sevens, which,
But
maybe we should just play more sevens. I'm mostly talking about Kids getting all jazzed up about it. I just want to play sevens. But,
That's not me.
No, there's tons of people that do it.
I'm not the one getting jazzed up. I like drills. I like sevens too, though.
I think he just I think Kins likes practice.
I do like practice.
I love practice. I live for practice, man.
We're taking a quick break to introduce the Be Ultimate Playbook presented by us, Pod Practice. This is a new recurring segment where we ask elite players and coaches to detail a favorite play. The playbook will be published in its entirety on the Be Ultimate website as a free downloadable resource. Yeah.
Ultimate.
Be better than ever.
Better than ever. Be ultimate.
Fierce.
They should add that one.
We're actually meeting with Kevin tomorrow from B to help us brand it a little bit better.
We'll get like a nice transition.
Yeah, Kevin Quinlan.
What Temper legend?
Is he a Temper legend too?
Played for Temper?
In 2021, he played with us at Nationals.
Oxymoron.
Hey.
Who's in the Temper Wall of Fame? Who's the starting 7 Temper all time?
Oh.
Probably Pat Earls.
Okay.
Both of the Thorns, probably.
Definitely.
Was that your door thing, Thomas?
It was my door thing.
Oh my God. So me, Nut, Trent, Nate, a bunch of people stayed at it's called the Breeze House, I suppose, in DC for the training camp. And every single time someone opens the door, the little voice goes like, back door open, or like, and it's just the creepiest.
Who's at the Breeze House?
The Breeze House is me, Elliot Bonet, Rowan, AJ, and Lauren lives here too.
You're all roommates?
We're all roommates. Here it is again.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good time.
All right. Tell us about what am I watching here?
I think this one is a play we call Tornado, which again is probably like diamond. So I'm going to come under and Elliot's going to go deep. So I come under as like that slash. Elliot goes out and put it out to space with a little nose angle because we're at altitude and we're a little downwind. And
one of the few hucks that was hit.
Yeah, you guys missed a lot in this game.
I think both the completed ones, though, were Thomas to Bonet.
Yeah.
Bonet.
So, yeah, this is a classic horizontal play.
Yep.
If you do not get this first under, do you guys have options off of it?
Yeah, if I don't get this first under, I would go out and then Elliot would come in, or it looked like Wodach was on the close rail here. He could make a slash for Gus there, but I mean, we're probably out of time at that point, so we'd probably just get into our handler movement.
Gotcha.
I do like what Wodach is doing, though. He's like engaging. His guy still like ended up helping, but he is trying to engage pretty or like now, to help not like get that help there, but. And a free upfield pass if you don't hit that huck. But I love how Elliot doesn't even set it up. He just is like, I'm fucking faster than you, and you're under me. I'm just gonna run.
I mean, yes, and I think that's a lot of how I set up my cutting too. Like, I don't set this up. I know it's off screen, but I just run to the space that the person defending me is not, and I beat him there.
That's a good question for all of you. If you are running a set play, and we have our different takes on what we think of set plays, but do you, if what you're trying to do is taken away, at what point do you break the script? Do you guys think about that? Yeah. If
my person was like in the lane here, stopping like between myself and the Frisbee, obviously not thrown, I would try and challenge their footwork and get past them still, or maybe make a small move to then make them bite the opposite way to get past them. but especially in DC and under coaching from Lauren, like we like to challenge their footwork. So we still run the play and still have the motion that the offense is expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And then if not, that's when we'll go to plan B, whether that's the handler set or making a different shape of the cut or starting a different part of the cut later. But that is what we like to do here, at least.
Sure.
So what if they're just sagging the lane and like no matter how you attack them, like you're probably not going to get it? Like, do you just kind of start going with the handlers and then?
I would say we still want the cutters to try and challenge their footwork to attack that space, because then that defender either has to take you or has to commit to doing something else, and that will likely open up a different space. So we still want to try and run the play and get into the motion that we have decided on the line. So yeah, we like to attack those spaces even if they are sagging, make them make a decision.
Sure. Okay, 5503 here.
This is similar. I think it's more of a
Side
more of a slash to 4, but I like this one because then we get on the break side and then we're kind of running back with that tempo to the force side. They might be flat or force middle. But again, I identify where my person is off screen. I kind of attack them to make them stop. And then I know that A-row is pretty much unmarked, so I can just come under for big yards.
Is this,
yards,
are either of these plays force dependent for you guys, or do you are you just attacking that space?
I'm going to attack that space no matter what, especially with A-Roy with the disc. Like, I think he's just such a fantastic break thrower, especially with his arounds, that I can attack that space no matter what.
Do you have a name for this one that you can share?
This might be a tornado right or just a slash, this actually might just be our flow play. As you can see, 3 of our players were kind of tucked like side stack, and we had 2 kind of active in the lane, and I just chose to initiate, and then I just came under. So that might be what this play is.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. You don't hit the bump to A-Roy after it gets over.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Surprised Tymon didn't throw that little bump.
I'm shocked that right here it doesn't go back to A-Roy.
Yeah.
Especially with like you guys hit those so much, especially to Johnny. I'm shocked that one didn't go up.
Yeah, I agree.
It's because Tymon sucks, right?
Nope.
Nope. Tymon's incredible.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Going back quickly, and Kin's touched on, or maybe it was Quinn touched on this on the last play. Wodach again here and Tymon. Everybody is already starting to activate and engage their defenders. This is something that we've been talking about a decent amount actually in the summit, because we've been struggling with that. We've been on the big field. We've been very spread out. Yeah. And at times it's just hard to access anybody on.
Yeah. I like how they're moving across even kind of while it's happening, because it's just, you're so far away anyway.
Kins, was it hard to talk about us positively on the broadcast? Sometimes it felt like you were like,
you guys, it was like fucking Salt Lake, and I thought I did a good job though. You know?
You did a good job. I could just hear it in your voice. Like,
people could say that I don't have a great filter or that, and I feel like I kept it very positive to both teams.
You did well.
And maybe, no. What did you think about playing Salt Lake? What was that like? Probably like your first time really playing the Utahians.
Yeah, they are definitely very physical, especially on the mark.
It was crazy that game. That's like the close. I was just like when I was commentating, I was like, because it was you. I think that the 1 point was crazy where they I think it was Jorgensen fouled you on a turnover, and then you got 10 yards, and then just like sets up fouling you.
Yeah.
And then the disc swung, and someone caught it, and it was just foul on the mark again. Like just immediately. It's like,
and I was just in the booth
what the
like,
fuck are we doing?
So that was a good example of me. I'm in the booth like, Salt Lake marking very physically here. We'll see what's gonna happen. Where in my mind I'm like, they're fouling on purpose. What the fuck are they?
I've mentioned this to Quinn and Kins that we should do like a segment on the weekly UFA refs email that I get. Do players get those too, or is it just the coaches?
Just the coaches. I've heard about them.
I will say, I'll give a little tidbit. And after week 1, there was a lot of talk about those specific physical marks and how they're going to watch out for those. Okay, What are we looking at here? Do you recall? Do you need me to press play?
No, I think this is a slash from like 3 in a hoe stack. So I'm going to come back towards the camera here. I believe once Gus gets it. Yeah.
In like a cross action. Yeah.
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 So 1 and 2 go deep. I kind of take that space.
And you continue to the 2, it looks like, right?
The 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this sort of play it by ear there where Cole and was that time on are working together, or is it pretty scripted?
Look at that mark. Holy moly. Holy shit.
They're the same person.
Look at that.
Come here.
Oh my god.
That's
Russ,
the most
Egregious mark I've ever seen.
He had a good game against us.
God.
Is that the Russ Nuggle?
Yeah, I think
Russ
the last time he played was in Nashville.
Oh,
Jesus fucking Christ.
and he did have a good game against us. God damn. I mean, everyone did.
My God.
So I was pretty impressed with Bryce Merrill at tryouts, but then I heard him talking to the refs after the game saying that we were fouling Salt Lake because we were stepping through their mark. And I was like, what?
I mean, at that point, it's just gamesmanship. I saw him talking to that too, and
I think Bryce is all about gamesmanship.
I think he's kind of trolling. I love Bryce. Bryce is hilarious.
He before they played us, they were here a few weeks ago, and he told us McKay Jorgensen was going to be subbing in. And then like a minute before the deadline, he was like, just kidding, he's not. And it doesn't really affect, we had our line set, it didn't matter, but I know he was doing that just to fuck with us.
Because McKay Jorgensen is a game buster for us.
Game buster.
All the Jorgensen bros are good.
For sure.
They are good.
But yeah, can you give us just one little more detail here? When after you get this under, what are your secondary looks, and do you have is it a scripted continue for you guys?
Yeah, I think since I came from the 3, the 2 is going to be my continue. So that was Cole. And I think I remember when I looked up field, he was a little too deep for a huck. So I don't remember if I pumped there, but then he just came under. He's a great cutter. He recognizes he's probably too deep. So he just comes under and eats up that space. And then we're trying to flow away from the disc here. So that's why we're trying to play to that far side, and then we try to hit Johnny on a pop, and then we're running with Rowan next, I think. Yeah. And then Rowan gets hugged here.
Jeez. And it's like he's bouncing off and going back at him.
Oh, man.
So you do look for a deep shot off of that, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially me, I like to throw those.
Yeah. I mean, that's like my catching it to the wide flick side on like that action and throwing like not really crossfield, but like that huck to the other cone is like the only reason I'm good at Frisbee. It's because I throw that well.
Thomas, another question about DC stylistically. Do you find that the big field is different for the style that DC plays, or does it fit just the same?
That's a good question.
I think defensively, we play club ultimate defense on the big field because that's kind of where what we've learned and what we've gotten good at. And maybe we aren't the best defensively at the UFA style. Not that we're bad by any means, but I think we do get burned sometimes when we're playing club ultimate style defense on that big of a field. And sometimes you'll see teams that are playing more of a UFA style of defense, maybe more helping, get more blocks than we do. And so I think that might be our growth trajectory in terms of like our style. I know you're asking like offensively, but I think tempo is tempo. And if we can be like, running through the middle of the field, it's going to be unstoppable if any team's doing it, really.
I mean, that's like you said exactly what we say
Our
too. Like
struggles.
we call ourselves like we're bad at the UFA, like because we just run what we run in club, and it's like, and we're okay. Like I'm pretty okay with doing that, I guess. I don't know.
Skin's shaking his head.
We're like trying to adapt a little bit, but it's like we have like one of the best club defenses, but we've just been getting absolutely fucking shredded recently in the UFA.
Teams are getting creative with how they send double teams and from where it is disruptive for sure.
So on offense, you don't find that the spacing tends to be like different, or you trying to, like attack different spaces or compress a little bit more at all in offense?
I think we huck a little bit more in the UFA, honestly, than we
Definitely.
do for truck. So maybe that deep space, but I don't think we're like throwing it super wide to try and attack the width to then come back to the middle. We try to play within, I think it's 7 yards on either side of the sideline. So that middle kind of like whatever that is, 39 yards. Club field.
We need to do that.
You turn it into a club field. Yeah, that's smart. I think we have been talking about like not taking free stuff that doesn't gain us anything to the sideline, like thinking critically about like what's open for and why, because like teams have gotten so good at realizing that you can't take away everything, so they give you something, and they're giving you that something for a reason. We need to think critically, like in game, like why are they giving it that to us, and we should probably fight for something better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one more question, actually, but first I'll just tie a bow on the
playbook segment
by B
presented by B Ultimate,
or it actually might be the B Ultimate playbook presented by Pod Practice.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, we'll cut something in that's better than that.
Well, maybe.
But what about like athletically? Is it maybe it's like Salt Lake is just such a fit and physical and athletic team. To me though, like watching that game live, it almost felt like I think of Truck as an athletic club team, but I felt like athleticism was a disadvantage against Salt Lake. Is that do you feel that ever? And that maybe is a question for everybody all three of you who are on the field there.
I don't think we were necessarily less athletic. They are definitely very athletic, not trying to take that away from them. I think our kind of fault in that game is we didn't execute our game plan. Going into that game, we were like, we want to be on top. We want to be on top. They'll literally get a bump and then they'll just throw it because you're out of position. And I don't think we executed being on top that well. And you can see that in a few clips throughout the game. And you're just not going to make up the space or the ground if you're a little bit behind, because they are good throwers and they are athletic. But I don't think there was such a big disparity in athleticism between the two clubs.
I think something that Salt Lake does really well in terms of using their athleticism is I don't think it's they outmatch people downfield on cutters. I think they have really athletic handler defenders that are able to kind of take advantage of maybe at less athletic handlers. At least from what I've seen, they're able to like really put shut down like athletic dudes on handlers, and I think that causes more issues than just like being more athletic in terms of cutting, in my opinion.
Want to give you an opportunity to maybe ask some questions if you have any for us, but I guess we would be remiss if we didn't mention Glory's weekend, taking the top spot in the division now. Is that right? And what was it like playing?
Yeah, unfortunately, and they don't have any cross divisionals, so that is unfortunate because they play Montreal and Boston 3 times each. Sorry, Montreal and Toronto 3 times each.
Oh, like basically gimmies.
Which, yeah. So that's interesting because we have Salt Lake and Carolina this year. So it is what it is. Like, I think we'll still make the playoffs. Hopefully this segment doesn't come back to bite me on that. But
Flip it.
I mean, we got the same fucking thing going on here, man.
We got to go to Salt Lake this weekend, and
well, it's not the Salt Lake; it's the Atlanta and the Minnesota, Madison, Indiana. Right. I mean, it's not like that, but it is an interesting.
The Indiana Alley Cats.
When creating the schedule, like, those games are more fun, and I think I'd still rather play them, but...
Oh, for sure. I want the challenging games on our schedule. I just want other teams to also have them.
Right.
Yeah, but then Seattle gets to play Portland Nitro 12 times. And it's like, well, okay.
I know, and it's just... I'm scared. Okay.
So this is actually one of my questions. How would you all redraw the UFA? And I'm asking that kind of vaguely intentionally, but how would you all redraw it if you've thought about it? I have an idea. So if you all want me to go first.
What do you mean redraw?
Like intentionally, whether you change the divisions or whether you change the whole structure of the regular season.
Oh, so like the format, the competitive format in terms of like how you play and stuff.
Yeah.
I have an answer.
Me and
Matty Jackson talk about this a lot, but so the Premier Lacrosse League, the PLL, does this thing for their seasons, and they basically travel to a central location, and like 3 teams will go or 4 teams will go, and you'll play all of those teams over a couple of days. And they don't have like, it's not divisional. Like it's like if we went and then DC, New York, and Austin went, and we all played each other like once over a couple of days. That's how I would want to do it, so that you can just like
does
play.
WL and PUL also do that? Is that right? I think
It's a good question.
I think that they do.
I don't know. Well, I don't think the WL would, because they only have like 6 teams.
Maybe you're right. I guess that's how
It's all
championship
West
weekend was.
Yeah, but that's how I would do it.
By the way,
shout
shout out Colorado Up and Glow champs. I'm not wearing the hat because it's not a B hat, but champions.
As I'm wearing this away thing this whole time.
It's all right. It's just it's us that has.
We'll Photoshop BE over it. But that's how I would do it. I would do like kind of like a championship weekend style for regular season games.
Okay. I like that. Thomas, can you give us some more ideas?
Yeah. So you all talked about promotion and relegation on a couple past episodes that I heard. My idea, and some people might hate this, is there are 24 teams in the league, top 12 and bottom 12. You play everyone in your division, whether that's the top 12 once, and a bonus game to get to 12 games, whether that's for someone from the bottom 12 or someone twice in your top 12. And then the top 8 teams in the top 12 go to championship weekend. You play quarters, semis, finals for that like American playoff. I think American sports needs a playoff, whereas like, European sports seem to be okay with just like, we're done. Then the bottom 4 teams in the top 12 play the top 4 teams in the bottom 12 in like a promotion relegation at the end of the season.
Sick.
Bottom 8 of the bottom 12. That's that. But my argument for that is there are still meaningful games in the bottom 12 to get you into the top 12 at some point, and you would probably see more wins across your season if you were in the bottom 12 playing teams that were closer to your level,
100%.
And that might entice more fans to actually come out if they would be exciting games, if they would be games where you might pull home a win. That's me being like theoretical, but that's my idea.
No, I agree with that, because I do think one
that
issue with the scheduling right now is that like, let's say you're a whatever team. I mean, it could be Portland or whatever. After like 4 games into the season, you're 0-4. Like there's no point in playing. Like you have nothing to play for. You can't make the 3. So it's just like the season is over. So I think like ideas like that. I've also had the idea of like maybe you add like a regular season tournament that only a certain amount of teams in the division could qualify for. So that way, even if you're not winning all the games, but you'd still have something to play for.
Like the Champions League.
Yeah. Like it'd be like the Champions League isn't what it would be in the analogy.
It'd be like the in-season tournament.
It'd be like the FA. I don't know soccer, but it'd be like the FA Cup or something.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't actually know that well. We could ask someone who follows soccer more closely. But something like that, because I also think you could do that with All-Star Weekend, and you could do like a tournament, and it could be fun. But I don't mind the divisions, and I like the cross-divisional games because they are exciting, and I do think they've been really good for like the league, and like the league is, I think this year it's really exciting considering like New York has taken a step back, so like the East is very interesting.
More open.
The West is going to be pretty interesting. The other
That's true. Like making the championship weekend is going to be difficult. I really like Thomas's idea. I think the league may not be set up that way for a few reasons. One, the finances of flying teams. It just sounds like owners don't have that kind of money.
That's the biggest thing you got to figure out.
And I don't know that competition is on the forefront of a lot of owners' minds, or like the league as a whole. Like it might be, but like Atlanta came here. Atlanta's a good organization, but I know that they told us this is the most fans we've ever played in front of, and they're a good team too.
It was pretty packed.
It was a good crowd.
Well, there was like 2,000, I think.
That's sick.
Right around
Upwards.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think so.
Yeah, see, our fans, they don't care about winning or losing. We just
Clearly.
we just want to see a good time, man.
Well, but I wonder though, like if Portland is in a competitive game against, Seattle or San Diego, LA, etc. Like,
No, I don't think it
does that even increase their attendance? I would hope so, but I don't know that it does.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
What else you got for us, Thomas? Anything?
That was really my big question. I was going to throw in there, like, how does Bravo do like financial assistance or like any fundraising type things? Because that's something we're kind of figuring out with Truck. A lot of times our more established players will donate X number of dollars to help support the less established. But that, I think, drains, especially as you have more younger players on the team. It's just like kind of a uphill battle.
So what you're going to want to do is start a podcast.
Get sponsored by BE Ultimate.
Maybe get a sponsorship. Maybe you work some things out.
No, that's a good question. A machine does a due structure. I know. We're figuring that out right now, actually, for this year. And I think each year is a little bit different. What we've done, at least, is audited the last 3 years of dues, and just so we just have a sense of what to expect. And we are asking people to pay up front more readily than in the past. But also letting everyone know who accepts a roster spot that finances shouldn't be the barrier of entry, and we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. But everything after that is definitely pretty loose in terms of like, hey, Todd, you're in your 30s now and have a nice career. Maybe you could pay a little bit
Pitch
more.
in a little bit.
So, but yeah, we're figuring that out ourselves, I would say, as well.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it's helpful. We're just
Be nice to have more like promotional events, but that just takes time and effort, that people have to think about. Like I'm sure that if, some time was put in, you could think of like you know what I think would be a good idea, like for maybe like you guys on the USA team, is like, instead of going to like a tournament really far, like I think they should do like almost like a next gen-ish type thing somewhere like on a coast where it's really condensed and you like play, you have like showcase games, and maybe it's against like UFA teams. Probably not. It's probably against club teams because like the format is easier. But honestly, I think you could do both and make it interesting, and then just have people come out to watch. And I think that'd be pretty cool.
That would have been so fun. I would have paid.
I mean, we could have just went
$50
East
for that
Coast
ticket.
and did like Boston,
Yeah,
New York,
exactly.
DC, Philly.
Yeah,
And
That would have
like,
been really fun.
I'm sure we could get some pretty decent stadiums and some pretty
Totally.
freaking good attendance.
Well,
you get All Too World to film it. It's like a special thing. You like figure out the proceeds, and like then you're all, because it's also you'd be getting like really valuable reps against really good teams. So it's like a kind of a,
instead of whatever shitty teams.
there's
you
a
guys
lot
are
of
play at
win-wins.
Windmill.
You'd have to figure out how to make like the travel the easiest. But if it's on the East Coast, it's really not that bad. It's like that's like not that far of a drive. I mean, so
yeah, I mean, North Carolina is only 4 hours from us, as well, like Raleigh.
Yeah,
so
right. Like you could
Just
just hop
another
in a
team, too.
You could just rent a bus or whatever and just
Holy
fucking
cow. That's a
cruise
good
down.
idea, kids. I wish that would have happened.
I mean, if you guys are getting 2,000 in a Summit game, like we should do this in Colorado. Like it sounds like there are people.
Yeah,
that
except
wanna
it's
watch
Colorado, and then you have to fly anywhere else. You could drive 8 hours to Utah.
Yeah, but sure, you could charge a premium and have, some type
I mean,
of,
you have training camp out here one weekend, right?
Yeah.
That would have been. Maybe it's not too late. Although
I mean, showcase. Yeah, that's true. You do have a training. Yeah, it's probably too late, but maybe it's not too late. I don't know.
Maybe
I mean,
it's not
$20
too
a
late,
ticket,
dude.
that's $40K. Like I know there's got to be stuff that goes elsewhere, but
yeah.
Dude, we could.
that's money.
It's not a
That
bad
is
idea.
money. Because I remember even when we did the BYU Bird game, it's not like it was packed, but like people came and that was just like a post on Instagram. Like there were at least like a few people there. If you're doing like a USA team, or,
Say there were a couple hundred
yeah,
people
like,
there.
that was cool. So
Non-players, yeah.
yeah,
Well, I want to be respectful of your time, Thomas. I know you got a big tryout. Good luck.
good
I
luck,
hope you
dude.
Make
I hope
truck.
if you don't make it, let
He's
us
always
know.
got goat or whatever.
Yeah.
Seems
Oh
like
yeah.
his backup.
Temper would take you back, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I would say we would take you, but we've had to make so many tough
we
decisions.
would
But
take him.
I agree. Let's settle down.
Well, okay, we'll make it work. Actually, we would make it work.
Yeah.
But also, if you ever feel like, I know Lauren has history in this state, so if you ever want to make it your way back out here,
Mike,
Thomas is like muting us because he's in the house with all the other people. He's like spamming the volume down button.
Well, I mean, the same goes for all of you. The whole house can come.
Yeah, they can all come. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a good house.
Why don't we take this house? It's a SpongeBob joke. Okay.
Yeah.
It was. I got it.
Bree's house becomes Bravo house.
Were you about to ask something?
You know Kaio, right, Mike?
Kaio, the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It took me a second. Did Lauren have? How old is Kyle?
He's like 10 right now. He's behind me somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Wow, that's a blast from the past. I haven't thought about Kyle. I guess probably in 6 years. How well, all right. Cool. Yeah. Good luck at tryouts. And we'll see you soon on the field, I'm sure.
Yeah, can't wait. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Peace.
Thanks, Thomas.
Be ultimate.
Be ultimate.